Tragedy in Texas after catastrophic flooding tore through homes and buildings and swept away trees and cars. The high waters killing more than 100 people so far across the state, and more than 24 of them are from one place, Camp Mystic. Hello, I'm Jessica Janner Castro. Camp Mystic has been around for nearly a century. It's a private Christian camp for girls in Texas Hill Country. There were about 700 girls there on the 4th of July when the water started to rise on the Guadalupe River because of relentless rain. This video shows the destruction left behind. You can see just how much debris and mud covered the grounds. While hundreds made it out safely, there is immense heartache for the girls and counselors who did not. Teresa Woodard reports.
Survivors singing, leaving Camp Mystic. Their little voices lift your heart, but also break it, especially if you've lived it.
Being together is like being at camp.
At the George W. Bush Presidential Center in Dallas, generations of one-time campers gathered.
There's people that have flown in just for 24 hours to be here to be with each other.
They invited us to stay just long enough to show you how large the crowd is. Then we left, leaving them space to grieve. Grieve Janie Hunt and Lila Bonner and Eloise Peck, best friends, and Rebecca and Hannah Lawrence, twin sisters. Some, but not all, of the North Texas girls now gone. Digging through archives on Camp Mystic's website means watching Texas history. Since 1926, girls have spent summers on the Guadalupe River. The daughters of governors, of President Lyndon Baines Johnson, camped here. Former First Lady Laura Bush was a counselor here. Friday morning, a wall of water washed it all away, taking longtime camp director Dick Eastland too.
On the banks of the Guadalupe River.
Memories from Mystic unite women across this state. In Houston, they held hands, swayed, and sang. They remember being those little campers
I want to pass.
and cannot yet grasp.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
That all is lost. In Dallas, I'm Teresa Woodard.
The camp confirmed at least 27 campers and counselors died, and that number is likely to rise as several still remain unaccounted for. In a statement, the camp said in part, quote, "Our hearts are broken alongside our families that are enduring this unimaginable tragedy. We are praying for them constantly." Among those who lost their lives at Camp Mystic, Linnie McCown and Mary Stevens, both 8-year-old girls who went to school in the Austin area. Greta Toronzo was 10 years old. She had been missing, and her elementary school in Houston confirmed her death on Tuesday. They asked people in her neighborhood to tie blue ribbons to trees because it was her favorite color. 19-year-old Chloe Childress was a counselor at the camp where she spent her summer mentoring young girls. Her family called her a joyful light with deep faith. Aerial video shows the devastating aftermath in Kerr County, where there are the majority of the deaths. It's home to several summer camps, including Camp Mystic. Searchers have found the bodies of more than 80 people, including dozens of children. Search and rescue crews are looking for those who are still missing. They are using heavy equipment to untangle trees and wading into swollen rivers. Volunteers are sorting through chunks of debris piece by piece. The loss of Camp Mystic is impacting generations. For so many families, it holds deep personal meaning. Megan Reyna spoke with a woman who's a former camper herself and had just picked up her family the day before the flooding.
In the days leading up to the morning of July 4th, hundreds of girls at Camp Mystic were experiencing joy.
I mean, you have to realize this camp has been around. We were going to have our 100-year reunion in April.
Reagan Petrish Mendoza's mother is a camp nurse. She says she picked her mom and her daughter up from the camp on Thursday, just one day before the surging floodwaters hit the campsite.
I cannot express the pain and heartache that I am going through, that my mom's going through.
Mendoza attended the camp in the 90s for several summers. She says Camp Mystic helped her grow close to God.
It's, literally saved my life.
She says the owner and executive director, Dick Eastland, was a father figure to all the girls. The camp confirming Monday 27 campers and staff died, including Eastland, who in his last moments was trying to rescue the girls.
I mean, literally he gave everything, literally, to save those girls. And I am just heartbroken because, a lot of the moms of those girls were in my cabin.
But hundreds of girls were able to escape the floodwaters. These videos shared by a camp nurse as first responders showed up Friday afternoon.
These counselors got these girls out. It was just absolutely amazing.
And in this moment, the girls doing what they could to remain calm, singing a song, praising God.
So amazing, because you would have thought, that they would have been just bawling and all this, but no. They're singing. Yeah, Camp Mystic songs.
Mountaintops, praise God, I want my world.
Just 15 minutes northeast of Camp Mystic is Camp La Junta at the banks of the Guadalupe River. Nearly 400 kids and counselors made it out safely. Cole Sullivan shares their stories of survival.
Lit by flashlights and lightning.
There's people in it. Oh my God, there's so many people in it.
Counselors at Kerr County's Camp La Junta watched the wall of water carry a cabin off its foundation. The kids at this nearly 100-year-old boys' summer camp say they woke up to the flood early on the 4th of July.
All of the campers in those cabins had to go up on the rafters, and they had to wait there until they could swim out.
His brother is one of the ones who says he had to swim to safety.
People were screaming that there was a flood.
Everyone at Camp La Junta lived. The owners say fast-acting counselors got them up high until the raging floodwaters receded enough for rescue.
We kind of made a chain. Passing the kids, Scott would get them from the rafters and we would pass them along.
This camp is just 15 minutes from Camp Mystic, the scene of so much heartbreak. Parents tell us some of the boys here had sisters there. La Junta is on the banks of the same river. Campers say they saw the devastation next door.
We saw all of the other camps.
State over July weekend. Across the state, people are wrapping green ribbons around trees in front of their homes in memory of those who lost their lives at Camp Mystic. Green is Camp Mystic's color. The news out of Texas hits very close for many, including a mayor in Colorado who was once a counselor at the camp. She spoke with Jeremy Jajola about her time there and also what it meant to her.
It was a wonderful time. It was a really special place.
Lauren Simpson is holding something from a bygone time.
So that's me with several of the girls in a place called the Tubs.
A time before scrolling through photos on our phones even existed.
I was camp counselor at Camp Mystic for 3 years, from 2002 to 2004. I worked the summer terms with the campers.
Back here I was. There it is.
A scrapbook of memories held dear from Camp Mystic in Texas. The images of smiling faces and serene scenes are in stark contrast to the devastating images making the news. Today, 27 people, mostly children at Camp Mystic, have died because of severe flooding.
So this is where a lot of the girls evacuated to, because there's a balcony on the second level that they were in, but this building was pretty badly flooded from what I understand.
For Simpson, who happens to be the mayor of Arvada, what is happening nearly 800 miles away from City Hall hits close to her heart.
That's what that river should look like.
She remembers cabins now torn away, and she especially remembers camp director Dick Eastland as a gregarious man. a man who camp officials say died trying to save some of the young girls taken away by floods.
And so it's heart-wrenching, especially you see the photos of the girls.
From camp counselors so many years ago who watched over children to now an elected official watching over a city, it's a poignant time to remember and hope.
And, you know, we think about this all the time here at the city now. How do we protect our population? It's truly an incredible, warm, safe place. And I sincerely hope they're able to rebuild from this. Like, Mystic deserves to continue on.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz called the situation in Kerr County every parent's nightmare.
I will say to all the grieving families, to all of those who've gotten the worst news imaginable, that your little girl, she's gone. I will say for many of us, those are friends and neighbors who've lost children. Got multiple kids who go to school with my girls. The mayor asked for prayers. And I want to say thank you to the millions of Texans, to the millions of Americans, to the millions of people all over the world right now who are praying for Texas and praying for those parents.
The senator said he had just picked up his daughter from a camp in the area last week. The senator also addressed scrutiny about whether warnings could have been issued earlier to give people more time to evacuate. Authorities in Texas are promising changes to prevent this from happening again. They say the state is willing to pay to install warning sirens along the Guadalupe River. The plan is to have those up by next summer. Georgia State Representative Buddy Carter's two granddaughters attended the camp and survived the floods. Gilad Malamed spoke with him.
The surging Guadalupe River flooded Texas's Camp Mystic, where Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter's granddaughters were spending the summer.
It was a harrowing experience, as you can well imagine.
His family, like so many others, did not know at first if the twin girls, who were almost 12, were okay.
And I got a call from my son, who was very upset and told me what was going on. Of course, immediately I started praying and didn't cease praying until we found out they were okay. There was a period of time when we didn't know what their status was.
The girls are now back home in Virginia, but are mourning the loss of their cousin Janie Hunt, who was also at Camp Mystic.
As you can imagine, the family is devastated by all this, and but we find comfort in knowing that she's in the arms of God.
The 9-year-old is one of more than 24 children in Kerr County, where Camp Mystic is located, who died in the flood.
The cabin that Janie was in was very close to the river, and I believe it washed away.
Carter says his granddaughters were in a different cabin and able to get to higher ground before being rescued by helicopter hours, possibly even half a day later. Now, search crews are still working to find the rest of the girls from the camp.
Our thoughts and prayers go with everyone who has been impacted by this. This is just an awful, awful tragedy, and these are real people. These are real families, and we just our hearts go out to them.
Gilad Malamed, 11 Alive News.
Coming up, support for Camp Mystic. A chef whose daughters attended the camp returned days after picking up his daughters to volunteer and to make food for the victims' families and those first responders. Support is pouring into Texas right now as cleanup is underway after flooding devastated some communities. A Dallas chef whose daughters attended Camp Mystic is now stepping in to help. Dia Wall reports from Kerr County.
I've seen firsthand not only the power of volunteers from across the country, but the power of North Texans who have showed up to help and be part of the relief and response efforts. I got to meet Mark and Kim Ellis. They're from Collin County, Lucas actually, and they loaded up in their own RV to drive down here to Kerrville and respond to this disaster. This is something that they do across the country. Well, they made it here on Saturday to help with relief efforts.
When you're in the trenches and you've lost everything, and somebody hands you that box of food, it's a hot meal. It just gives, I feel like it just gives up some energy, and they know it was made from love.
When you're tired, you can't move on, all of a sudden you turn around and there's somebody there to help you, bring you up. So somebody give you a hug, and so yeah, you feel it.
Then there's Jeff Rocco. He's a Dallas chef and caterer who joined Mercy Chefs here in Kerrville to help prepare more than 3,000 meals a day for flood victims and first responders. Just days before the catastrophe, he was at Camp Mystic picking up his own 2 girls.
It hit her hard, hit my other daughter hard too. So I had to come. I had to come. I was here a week and a half ago picking up my girls from the camp.
As a fellow Mystic parent and somebody who does have their babies close, what would you want to tell the parents who don't anymore?
I don't know. I can't tell them anything other than I'm sorry and no, I can't say anything. Mine are home.
You have to imagine there are countless families feeling the same way that he is, right? Coming to terms with the grief and some of the guilt of being the people who do have their babies and their children close to them after so many lost theirs along the Guadalupe River.
Many of you at home may also be asking how you can help. These are some of the organizations accepting money donations online. You can give to the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country, Texas Search and Rescue, and the King's Ransom Foundation. Kerrville Pets Alive is also helping animals affected by the flooding. Of course, we're thinking of all of those impacted by the floods in Texas, and we'll continue to cover any developments. I'm Jessica Janner Castro. Thanks so much for watching.
Hello everyone, I'm Catrice Nolan. Today is Wednesday, July 9th, and here's a look at your headlines in the news. Recovery efforts continue across 6 counties in Central Texas where devastating floodwaters left behind widespread damage and heartbreak. Emergency crews remain on the ground working tirelessly to locate the missing and support families who've been impacted. It's a tragedy that has hit the state hard. As the water has receded, crews are searching for the missing. Matt Daugherty has the story as one man recounts how the river always floods, but he says it has never been this bad.
We're standing at the Lions Park Dam where the river has returned to normal tonight, but one look around is all it takes to see that nothing is the same as it was before. The water beneath the bridge in Center Point, Texas is flowing like normal again. But life along the riverbanks looks anything but normal.
Flash floods, we get them all the time.
Gavin Walston was up early last Friday.
Good morning, everybody. It's 9:20. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Thanks for hanging with us. And if you were waiting for us to come on your stream, here we are. We made it. So appreciate your time. Right now, we do want to talk about, we're going to start our stream here on WCNC Plus because we have a special time slot with our special guests here to talk about energy, specifically what the energy industry means for jobs. And because the U.S. is in the midst of this energy revolution, focusing on reliable energy solutions, there is a growing need for jobs to be had. So we are joined right now by 2 energy workers workforce experts, Gabriela Colon and Ignacio Estella. Thank you for joining us this morning from the Center for Energy Workforce Developments. This is the Get Into Energy initiative. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jane.
All right, so for either one of you, why is now a particularly interesting time for someone looking to join the energy sector?
No less than two reasons, Jane. One is effectively energy is the substance of growth and wealth creation and the economy, the nation's progress. So you need energy to grow. And then the breadth and depth of the opportunity in terms of jobs in North Carolina as well. So opportunity and good timing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very exciting. So what kind of job positions are we looking at?
Bookend to bookend is very diverse. There's journey, there's line workers, there's nuclear engineers, transmission experts, customer service, bilingual representatives. There's really breadth. There's accounting jobs, regulatory experts, and the communications experts. There is a wide variety.
And so it sounds like you don't need a college degree, I would think. What are some of the surprising factors then if people are interested in entry-level paths? What would surprise people?
I can take that one, Jane.
Okay.
The energy industry is an industry where you can start at an entry-level position with a high school diploma. So anyone that is just entering into the workforce or is looking at a career change can definitely choose a path and develop a long-lasting career within the industry. For instance, we have high-demand roles such as electricians, welders, line workers, manufacturers, that if you do need just a high school diploma, there are some companies that may offer on-the-job training. So there's opportunity to grow, enhance your skills, branch out, and if you are a person that is ready to learn, we are here and we are ready for you.
Let's talk about diversity in the workforce and energy solutions, because Charlotte, the largest and fastest growing community and demographic group are the Latinos here. And so talk to me about Latinos and that Latinx population into the workforce, how that can be woven together.
Well, Latinos are one of the fastest growing segment workforce in the U.S., and we are a vital part of the economy. And it's important that representation matters, so it's important that our workforce reflects the communities that we serve and we live in. The industry is currently actively investing in education, training, and workforce development programs in collaboration with education institutes and community groups. For instance, Center for Energy Workforce Development is collaborating with Unidos US and National Urban League to provide these resources and career opportunities to our communities.
All right. What kind of skills or a skill set one might want to think about if they want to either transition or enter an energy industry kind of field?
A good question. I'll take that one. Ultimately, we're a skills-driven industry, so it's a good question. It's not only certifications or titles. Three I can think of is project management of projects of any scale and complexity. Anything community engagement, grassroots, volunteering, will connect you and your job to the communities you serve. Data science and analytics for the technologies we need to deploy, smart grid, AI, are also important. And if I can think of veterans, they have an extraordinary trajectory of discipline, leadership, and on-the-job training in a team environment. So those are skills that are not, if not immediately recognized, they're definitely attractive for the energy industry.
All right, fantastic. And where can people go for more information if they need some more?
Getintoenergy.org. There's a substance of jobs. There's like 20,000 postings right now, and no less than 700 plus in North Carolina. So rise up and join us.
All right, getintoenergy.org. There you have it. Gabriela and Ignacio, thank you so much for joining us here in the Live Impact studio.
Thank you so much for having us.
Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so it's a promising field and a promising area in the Carolinas for energy jobs. If that is your way, if you're thinking about entering the workforce, a lot of programs in and around Charlotte providing programs to get grads or non-university graduating students back into or entering the workforce. All right, we are being weather alert here in the Carolinas, Charlotte Metro, I should say, because, again, what are we dealing with? A lot of heat, some flood potential as well. Chris Mulcahy joining us right now here in the Live Impact studio.
And what was interesting is that we saw a lot of activity across the Carolinas, even around our viewing area, but then there was this spot right in the middle that didn't see too much, and that was Charlotte. Charlotte saw no rain yesterday, nothing at Charlotte. Douglas, anything at your houses?
I had a little bit.
A little bit? Jane?
It was maybe less than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, very fast. It was interesting because we live in a little development, right? And so
You're South Charlotte.
South Charlotte, South Parkish. Yes. And so you enter and was like, oh, wow, it rained here. And then you turn to my street. Right. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's no wet road here at all.
Yep.
And that's the way it was, and that's why I want to show you this. So I'm able to capture all of the polygons, as they're called. So these are the warnings. These are all of the green flash flood warnings, and the severe thunderstorm warnings are in yellow. First off, look at how much was happening.
A lot of shapes.
Yeah, a lot of shapes.
Polygons, I like that.
Yep, that's why we have to call them polygons, because we don't know if it's going to be a quadrangle, a pentagon type shape. Yeah, sometimes it's going to have multiple sides. And we really saw most of this well east of I-77, but a lot of this happened in the flood zone, where we had that flash flood watch from yesterday, and where also there was a tremendous amount of rain from Chantal. So there are a few rivers that are under that minor flood stage, but nothing really extreme at this point, but there were multiple flash flood warnings that were associated with this. So I just want to kind of show people that, hey, just because you might not have seen rain in your area doesn't mean that there weren't some sort of impacts. There was some flooding right around Lincolnton where we saw over 2 inches of rain. I actually saw some estimated totals up to 3+ from Lincoln County up into Catawba, parts of Iredell over into Burt County. Meanwhile, not really anything along the I-85 corridor, so far less around Concord, less than 0.05 of an inch in Gastonia, not too much in Monroe, but there was a flash flood warning in Lancaster, so that was really a big difference there. Today, we kind of flipped the script. I think there's a better chance for more rain right in the center part of the map here around the I-85 corridor, where it gets a little bit stronger to the south. This is actually the rain over the last 24 hours, so this does factor in rain that we've seen since midnight. So we have seen rain over the last 24 hours in Charlotte. It just all happened after midnight, where actually several of my producers were talking about, hey, I couldn't sleep because of the thunder that was happening there, and they come in a little bit earlier for our morning show, and over 1/4 inch of rain fell around Monroe. So yeah, we did see a little bit of rain through the overnight. Right now we are dealing with one little rain shower over here. This is now over in Richmond County. We were watching it earlier from our Lylesville camera. You can see some of those darker clouds, so you're pointing right at that rain shower. We had our head in the clouds literally earlier on. And that is the least of our worries this morning, but we do have another weather impact window that's from 2 to 9 o'clock that we're going to see developing storms across the area. Flooding especially is high for those who either under the flood watch or those who saw 2+ inches of rain yesterday. The Charlotte area has barely seen anything, really, almost for the better part of this last week. So I think it's really areas east that'll have the higher flood potential. It was really all dependent on what rain we saw yesterday. We are also mentioning here in the Impact Studio that, hey, there's a good chance if not much really happens yesterday that we might discount the weather alert day on Friday, and we have done that. There was still some significant impacts, but not enough to really move it forward to move to day 3 for this. And our current temperatures right now, 75 degrees around Charlotte, 74 around Monroe, 72 for you in Hickory. Today's actually the coolest day that I have over the next 7. Highs could potentially get to around 90 degrees, but likely in the upper 80s because of that cloud cover with chances of showers and storms starting in the middle of the afternoon. afternoon. It's technically a double threat, but our severe threat is much lower today. But truly, I think it's really highest south of I-85, and we still have that moderate flood threat across the area. That's represented by that yellow that you're seeing here. This is the excessive rain impacts, but I also like to just call it your flood potential because nobody says excessive rain in common day. How many say it's like, man, that was some excessive rain? Well, I do, but that's because I'm supposed to. Yeah, it's the rules.
Your career.
It's my career. Yeah, but if you hear anybody who's like, man, that rain was excessive, I was like, okay, what are you up to on your spare time? Yeah, I know, right?
Extra.
Our flood watch, as I mentioned, is this areas that have the highest total potential, and this also there's some huge flash flood warnings around High Point and Greensboro. I think the same thing goes, but this time I think we're transitioning a lot of heavier rain around the I-85 corridor, but it's going to be scattered. So there are going to be some bald spots, so you might hear the thunder or you feel the winds picking up. Those are the outflow boundaries, but it doesn't always mean that a storm is coming. Our severe weather risks, don't worry about tornadoes. Pretty much near zero risk for hail as well. Damaging winds will be a possibility, gusts up to 60 miles per hour, especially if they combine together, if they take their stormy hands and rejoice. It really is of greater power in numbers. So here's our timing. As I mentioned, my window is about 2 to 9. You'll see why. We're seeing scattered showers and storms in the mountains and the foothills up to about 2 o'clock. But I think we could see our first storm starting to develop in the high country. We saw our first one in Watauga County around 11 yesterday. I think we do it again. Those storms will start to really build close to the 4 o'clock hour towards the Charlotte area. So at this point, you have rain anywhere from Statesville down to Rock Hill. And then it starts to push its way down to the south and the east as we head into the evening. By the National Weather Service standards, we actually start calling it the evening at 6 p.m. So at 6 p.m., that's where I think storms are most numerous because this is where they're starting to join together. So it's really from about 4 to 7, I think we have the stormiest weather across the greater Charlotte area. And then by about 8 to 9 o'clock, it's pushing out of here. But if those storms start to form a line, it will have a higher potential for severe thunderstorms heading into the evening. So we could have some warnings there, but also if they linger over an area for long enough, maybe a few cells start to sit, of course we're going to have that flash flood potential. By tomorrow, even though we're not weather alert, doesn't mean you're not going to see storms. We know how it goes. Sometimes you don't have to have a designated low risk by the Storm Prediction Center to have a severe thunderstorm. They act on their own. If it's hot and it's humid and a storm pops up, it will have a chance to push the boundaries. That's exactly what we have tomorrow. So about mid to late afternoon, we'll have some scattered storms out of here by the evening, but it's far less widespread than what we have today. And then looking at Saturday is actually a much lower chance that we have any sort of storm development. That usual isolated popcorn kernels popping up, that if you get any rain, it likely will last 45 minutes tops, and then you can go outside and do whatever you're doing. How much rain are we going to see? I truly think that most of us see less than an inch because I think this will be a little bit more of a quicker moving system, especially if we start getting some severe thunderstorms actually providing some gusty winds. But I think we could see up to an inch. That's the general range, with some local 1 to 2 pluses, just depending where we have some of those heavier rain bands. This is also in the upper 75 percentile as far as moisture to the atmosphere, so you're still going to have some pretty heavy downpours if you see it. After 9, as I mentioned, I think a lot of this is clearing out, but did you know it's officially a full moon today?
Wow, maybe that's why our system...
Maybe that's what it is.
Went belly up.
See, it all makes sense now.
That does make
so
sense.
So at 4:47, that is when we're officially the full moon, and it's not going to be seen at that point. It actually isn't really seen until after it rises back up at around 9 o'clock, which, by the way, the July full moon is the buck moon. All these are associated with Native American tribes and oftentimes whatever they were doing that time of year. So they're hunting buck around July. And our full moon will actually be gorgeous once we clear out some of the clouds, but those clouds are going to be pretty thick. There's a chance for some fog overnight as well. So you might just see the illumination, but
We're off.
89. I'm going to finish them in the lower to the mid 90s on Monday, and then we have storm chances each and every day. Goodbye.
Oh. No, say hello. We're
Hello.
back.
Oh, we're back? Okay. Yeah,
Don't
so
know why.
89 degrees weather alert, and then we have the lower to the mid-90s with our daily storm chances. But today is the only weather alert day. Doesn't mean you're not going to see a strong thunderstorm. Any of the others, less likely for a storm chance on Saturday and Sunday. And then after that, looks like the warmest day is 95. But bringing up one more other point, you're also going to be dealing with an increasing heat index as we go through the next few days. Feels more like 97 for a peak today, 99 tomorrow, and then we could feel like 100 plus Saturday, Sunday heading into Monday, where Monday looks like now the hottest feeling day. Yesterday actually was one of the highest dew points that we had, so if you felt, oh, this is extra muggy, it was. It was actually the second muggiest day of the year so far. Any questions, concerns?
It just goes up and up from here. We are in the dog days of summer now. Officially.
Yes, we are officially until August 11th. We can call it the dog days of summer. So, and also in the next day or so, we're going to be able to we'll reach our maximum high. Our average high peaks at 91 during the middle of July. We're at 90 right now. We moved to 91, and then by about, I think it's July 20th, we move back to 90. So technically, it's downhill from there. Just a very slow downhill.
Yeah, in the 90s, low to mid 90s. I'll take it. All right. Well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Appreciate your time and hanging out with us for a little bit.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you again around 10 o'clock.
Sounds
as we
good.
are. Yeah, we'll see you in about 25 minutes.
25 minutes. All right.
We'll miss you.
All right. Maybe I'm just going to leave my laptop here then.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye. We are in the weather alert mode here in the Live Impact studio. Thanks for joining us at 9:36 right now. We did have an earlier apartment fire, a 2-alarm fire reported in the South Charlotte area. This affecting things there as a number of residents were reported injured, and a lot of crews on scene, as you can see from our crew that went there live to cover the scene. And our Richard Devane also rushed to the scene, gathering information and talking to folks there who were impacted. He joined our Ben Thompson and Megan Bragg on WCNC Plus earlier this morning. So if you missed it around 8:30, they captured the latest. Let's get you caught up on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Breaking news out of South Charlotte. We've been talking about all morning here on WCNC Plus. At least 6 people are injured after a apartment fire there. This is happening over near South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. Richard Devane there live on scene. Richard, you are actually in the middle of speaking to some of those neighbors.
Neck up. Yeah, as a matter of fact, can you imagine as a father, if your daughter calls you in the middle of the night or early morning, I should say, and well, I'll let, tell us your name, Vanessa.
My name is Vanessa Gilmore.
And you got a call this morning. What happened?
Yes, I don't know, my daughter, she had called my cell phone and I didn't get it answered in time, and so she called on the house phone, and my mom came to me. She said, Courtney wants you to pick up the phone, and you know, all I heard is, Mama, my apartment's on fire, my apartment's getting ready to burn down. And she hung up the phone, and I tried to call her back, and she didn't answer the phone, and so I got dressed real quick, and you know,
you got out here all the way from Gastonia.
Yeah, coming from Gastonia, but it seemed like time stopped. I wasn't going to get here fast enough because I didn't know what was going on.
Now there is good news for her. You telling me about her apartment is on the end of this unit.
Yeah.
It's protected.
Yes, it's beside the firewall, and so by being next to the firewall stopped the fire. But they said the most she would have is a little bit of water and smoke damage.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad she's okay, and I know some nervous moments for both of you guys, but she's going to be okay. But we want to point out, this is the damage you see right here. This is what's left of that unit that caught on fire. Some neighbors told us they heard what sounded like a loud explosion, a bang. If we have that video, you can show that video that actually shows how intense these flames were. When the fire department got here, they said it took them about 4 minutes to get here after getting the call, and multiple units. We had this was a 2-alarm fire. They say multiple units came out here and were able to get this fire under control. But as you can well imagine, there was a significant amount of damage. You can just see how much damage there is. We did speak to a number of neighbors who said they were awakened by either hearing the loud bang and then walking outside and then seeing what was going on. One neighbor says she was awakened by firefighters knocking on her door and telling her to get out. That video we showed you of the flames was actually somebody else who lives in that same section where the mother of the young lady told us. That same section of this particular unit or this particular part of the complex said that she actually was very calm. She said the firefighters were urgently telling her to leave, but they were calm, and so she was able to calmly get out. And that's what a couple other neighbors told us how good a job the fire department did. You asked us in the last little bit, Ben, about the people who were involved. 6 people injured, transported. I can tell you that they were all in the same unit, according to the fire department. Investigators tell me they were all in the same unit, and police are also saying that there were at least 11 people who were actually inside that apartment unit at the time that this fire broke out. Right now, this fire is very much under investigation. We can tell you the arson investigators are here also looking at it to try to determine exactly what happened, how it happened, and we also know that the Red Cross is here as always. It's a good sign when they're here to help those people who've been displaced by this. A couple neighbors tell us they're still waiting to see if they can go inside their apartment and see what's damaged, what's salvageable. And you know, this is the type of thing that happens a lot when we have these fires. People lose everything, but the most important thing that they can say they keep is their lives. They're safe. And right now we're still working to find out the extent of those injuries. We'll get the extent of those injuries. Also, we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what may have started this fire when investigators give us more information. I spoke to one a little bit ago who said it's just too early to release any of that to us right now. But of course, as we get it, we do know, like Ruben is showing you, the Red Cross is on the scene. They're here as usual to help out those families who've been displaced. That we've already seen them talking to some folks, offering their assistance. So we'll continue to be here and find out what we can and present it to you throughout all of our social platforms. We are reporting live right here off of Archdale. How are you doing? This is Richard Devane. Guys, send it back to you.
And Richard, when we usually report on this, we hear a lot about smoke detector issues and that sort of thing. But I'm wondering, did anyone else's smoke detector go off when this was going on? Have neighbors told you anything about smoke detectors?
Every single neighbor I spoke to did not mention their smoke detectors. That's something people mention right away. Excuse me, did your smoke detector go off? Did your smoke detector go off? We're going to find out from her. She said no. And the other neighbors I spoke to said they were asleep. They were not waken up by smoke detectors. They were actually awakened by the fire crews telling them to get out. And so I don't know about if there were working smoke detectors or if folks, so far I've spoken to, this would make about 6 to 7 people. I would say 6 to 7 people who actually were either inside this unit or close by, and not one of them has mentioned, because that's something people mention. My smoke detector went off and I heard something, but everybody I've spoken to said they were awakened by either the sounds of the fire department or the fire department knocking on their door or someone else yelling for them to get out. I didn't hear anything from anyone saying anything about smoke detectors.
Richard,
but that's something, of course, we'll look into.
We have a soundbite that you got for us that we want to listen into. If we can, let's go to that soundbite.
Yeah.
They did a really good job, because when the fire, it went from the, it looks like the balcony, it went up to the top of the building, and it was actually crossing over to our side of the building. And they did a really good job taking it out. Just red everywhere, like flames engulfing everything. The tree caught on fire some.
And to see this.
And then they cut down one of the trees too.
And I'm going to, as we come back here live, that was Jennifer who gave us that video right there. That's the tree she's talking about that caught on fire, and they had to cut this one down. You can see it singed. I can get a better perspective from where I'm standing now. You can see just how much damage occurred. But she was the one who also said her and her girlfriend said they were very calm. There were 4 of them inside of the unit that they were inside of, and they were hoping that no one was injured. Of course, we had to tell them that some people were transported. Again, we were told by police as well that there were 11 people inside the unit, that main unit that caught fire this morning, 6 of them having to be treated and transported.
Richard Mebane, we'll let you go back to speaking to neighbors and investigators there. Keep us posted.
Yeah.
And we will bring you the latest on that fire, the apartment fire in South Charlotte, coming up on WCNC Charlotte midday at 11:30. Also in North Carolina, because of Chantal, Mebane, North Carolina, the city there dealing with a code red, a stage 5 mandatory restrictions on water, because officials are now saying that they only have enough water, less than 2 days of drinking water left. So Giselle Thomas, a reporter covering that area of North Carolina, also spoke to Ben and Megan earlier this morning on WCNC Plus, and bringing you the latest on what they're facing now here on Live Impact.
Officials even asking some businesses to close because of this crisis.
Yes, now that's actually one of the reasons why it is around nearly 8 a.m. in the morning, and you can see it's very dead here downtown. If you are non-essential, you are not allowed to be open in the city of Mebane. Now, this is also impacting families. I was able to speak to a mother of 7. Her name was Sarah Bell. She tells me that last night, because the city is in a zero water use program that they're having, she had to put out buckets of water to collect rain, to use that she's thinking of using it to wash her dishes, but then also to use it to flush her toilet. So that helps put it into perspective of what some of these residents are dealing with right now. Now, Belle tells me that it's just been really hard not being able to use water during the summertime. She says that between the zero water use and also closed roads, it's hard to not only get around the city of Mebane, but also just keep up with her home. So right now the city is in a level 5 water shortage plan that forces non-essential businesses to close, and it limits water use for residents to only bottled water only. Now, to cut back on water, Belle says that she's made the switch to paper products to see if that helps cut down on her dishes.
Having that many kids, they just go through dishes all day long. They're going through laundry all day long. So those things are piling up on us. We traveled yesterday to Chapel Hill to take showers. Everybody took showers at my mom's.
Now, with those showers, Belle says that she wants to savor them as long as she can. She says at this time she's limiting play for her kids outside, but with the current weather forecast, she says that it's kind of a waiting game on if she stays here in Mebane for the rest of the week.
The flood warning coming is very concerning of how we should be moving forward. If we should go ahead and leave the area just to be safe, or if we should stay and wait, or it's very up in the air.
Now, also just to add some perspective for families out there, Belle says that she had her kids enrolled in summer camp. Today would make day 2 that they're missing that camp. So she's wondering too, what happens to the money she paid, because she said she paid for it for the rest of the week. Now, when it comes to the water plant for Graham and Mebane, right now city officials are saying that it's currently being worked on, but there's no estimate of when things will be up and running since we're in this water shortage right now.
My goodness, water is something you just take for granted.
Yeah,
exactly. It's essential. I mean, this is happening just up 85, our neighbors up there in Mebane. Giselle, you've been around there in Alamance County after Chantal. Give us a sense of how the community there is trying to help each other out as much as they can.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I've seen so many things. It's really just everyone coming together, neighbors upon neighbors. So in the past few days, whether it's bringing cases of water to each other, physically helping using wet vacs to vacuum out mud and dirt and debris out of their homes, the community is really coming together at this time, similar to what we saw in Western North Carolina, but this is a bit of a smaller scale. But seeing neighbors from different counties, also just an actual neighbor, brother and sister. It's been beautiful to see that. Especially, I had a guy who had his entire deck completely washed away, and it was just beautiful to see his family come in. You could see dirt inside of his car. Some of the images that we've seen over this week will stick with us for a very long time.
Yeah, and in the days to come, because still folks there in Mebane with very limited access, at least, to water right now, a dire situation. All right, Giselle, keep us posted. We appreciate that.
And yesterday, officials there in Mebane gave a press conference on the latest there. Obviously, a dire situation, like Ben said, but let's go to that here on WCNC Plus.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It is a dire time for the city of Mebane, and as you well know, the last 48, 60 hours has been a very devastating time for the city of Mebane and its citizens. From our Lake Michael overflowing, fortunately we had to coffer down to stop that. With flooding in the city, had a couple casualties in Alamance County. This has been a devastating storm. We were fortunate to have the governor yesterday to visit, and we were very excited to see him. He got a lot of requests for money to help us in our relief efforts, and I was very excited that the head of the EMC was here. I think that's what it's called. And he was here, and it was very well received. And we're looking forward to the state helping us out in a lot of the overcoming this disaster. For the reason we're here today is the Code 5 or the Level 5 water restriction that we had to go to because of lack of water that from our water plant. And I'm going to ask our city manager, Richard White, to come up and talk about the dynamics of it and why we're here today because of that.
Thank you, Mayor Hooks. We are facing an unprecedented challenge here due to flooding caused by the tropical storm Chantal, which caused flooding at the Grand Mebane water treatment plant. The water treatment plant remains under repair, and the city currently has about less than 2 days of drinking water at our current usage rate. Earlier today, the city of Mebane implemented the water shortage response plan, which City Council adopted in 2019. As the mayor mentioned, we're at stage 5, which is the highest level in the plan, and it calls for mandatory restrictions to protect the health and safety of our residents here in Mebane. Immediately, all industries, businesses, offices, and non-residential units were asked to cease operations except for grocery stores, healthcare facilities, and drugstores. Residents and businesses are required to limit their water use strictly to drinking purposes when bottled water is not available, limited restroom usage excluding showers, and required medical usage. These categories are all that we're allowing at this point, but we'll evaluate the potential changes on a daily basis. We're urging everyone to use bottled water or alternative sources whenever possible. City personnel and local law enforcement are enforcing the water shortage response plan to ensure compliance with these restrictions. We also want to note that we still remain under state of emergency with Alamance County, Orange County, and here in the city of Mebane. We ask for full cooperation to help us manage this emergency and to protect our community. We're currently actively receiving bottled water at our Mebane Arts Community Center and Fire Station 2. We're also working to identify other distribution sites throughout the city, and we're also taking donations for water supplies as well. We want to make sure that we ensure that our residents have safe water to drink. We'll continue to provide updates on distribution centers and other resources as they become available. For all our residents and businesses, we're encouraging them to sign up for the city's notification system, Code Red, and they can find information on our city's website. We would also like to ask any residents here in Mebane who have damage, they can report that to our EOC, and that number is 919-304-9235. We understand the difficulty of the situation, and we're committed to resolving it quickly. We know that the folks at the water treatment plant are working hourly throughout the day, throughout the night to get our plant restored. And so we hope this won't be a long duration, but we don't have an estimate of when that completion will take place. We want to thank everyone for their understanding, cooperation, and resilience during this challenging time. And together we know that as we navigate this emergency situation, we do plan to come out of this as a strong community. I'm going to turn it over now to Franz Holtz, our city engineer, to talk about our Lake Michael Spillway project that's underway as well.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Aaron. as all are aware, our coffer dam, which protects the work that's ongoing on the spillway at Lake Michael, crested Sunday evening, early into Monday morning. Since then, the water levels dropped about 3 feet with the efforts of field construction with 5 pumps running, the intake tower drain being opened, and a fire truck assisting with those efforts. The key is to get that level down to protect against any upcoming rain and to get it back to where we can do full repair on the coffer dam and continue on with the spillway project. Chief Wellens has asked for additional pumps from the State Emergency Management Office. We hope to hear back from them soon on that. We do expect 2 additional pumps that Vail has coming in tomorrow. The efforts are needed to try to, again, drop the level of the lake. We were dropping it about 1 foot a day. We would like to get that to about 2 feet a day. Ultimately, we need to get it below the coffer dam so a full repair can be made, and then down to the levels 10 feet or more before the storm hit. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, as mayor of the city, I've just been tremendously proud of the staff, all departments, and the city council has been very responsive to the citizens of Mebane, and we've asked that the citizens be patient and understanding and compliant to our ask that we conserve water. Our staff has worked tirelessly, during the storm, 24 hours, particularly out at the Lake Michael. And I just want to compliment them and appreciate everything they've done, because they've done a great job. I'm very proud of them. And we're going to come out of this thing quickly, hopefully, and we're very proud of everything that's been done. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
This is the treatment plant that's over on Gilbreth Street, or is that a different location?
That's a different location. This is the Grand Mebane water treatment plant on Highway 70.
So how long are we expecting this to last?
We don't know yet. We are working 24 hours a day to get this plant repaired. We are starting to produce water at a minimal capacity right now. So we are making a little headway, but that's why we're still asking for water conservation.
Anticipating days or weeks?
Days, hopefully.
Friday?
But no, I can't say that.
How many levels, how many feet will approximately the lake have to drop to really start making headway in terms of trying to recover and reconstruct how we have planned?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Talking about the levels of the lake have dropped several feet. They say.
Are you speaking of the spillway?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So the coffer dam is about 6 feet high, and we need the lake level to be 6 feet lower than the coffer dam to make the full clay repair on the coffer dam.
How are you guys enforcing the restrictions, and what are the penalties for businesses and/or residents that don't abide by them?
The plan, the water shortage plan, calls for a local law enforcement to enforce the plan. So our police staff have been going around to businesses, and it does allow for a fine for those who are in violation of the plan.
How much is that fine?
It's currently $100 that's in the plan.
Is there any possibility to have exceptions made if we bring in our own water source with our like trailer restrooms? Could that be considered to open up, especially like financial institutions?
At this point, it's too early to say. We're really in a very difficult situation with the water supply, so we really need to stop usage. I understand what you're saying, and we're going to evaluate this daily, and as we're able to, we'll begin to make adjustments, but at this point we need to provide, to make sure we are protecting our water supply. We'll have 2 days left, but we will evaluate this daily and look for possibilities for some changes to the plan.
Are you still getting help from the Orange Alamance water treatment plant?
Yes, we're still we are still receiving water from Orange Outlets.
Is it just not enough?
It can only supply a part of our system. It cannot supply the whole system.
There was a question
I'm so sorry. That's it. That's all the time we have for questions today. We appreciate you all coming out, and thank you. Any other information updates will be posted on the City of Mebane website. There will be code red alerts, and it will be on the City of Mebane social media websites. Also, you can feel free to call in, and somebody will be available to help you if you have any other questions. Thank you.
And we will be monitoring things there as well in Alamance County, and particularly that water situation in Mebane. Wow. Again, due to flooding, there have been some issues continuing through Texas. Officials there, we expect to hear the latest after their latest recovery efforts. But on a rescue effort, it seems that those chances now are dwindling, so now becoming more of a recovery effort and facing a lot of questions about whether they did enough to get people out of harm's way because of the flash flood in Kerr County, Texas. Matt Roy is covering the latest from Texas.
I got some information on housing after
A neighbor checks in days after the disaster on the woman known as Pearl. Early Sunday morning, Pearl thought her partner was dreaming.
Larry was going, there's water in my ankles. Larry, go back to sleep. It's just a dream.
But it was actually a nightmare. Pearl, Larry, her granddaughter, and her diabetic brother all escaped. But this is what's left of her home, and she had neighbors washed away to their deaths. Pearl's only warning of the flash flood, a call from her cousin in San Antonio.
Told me that I better go tell my neighbors. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden everything just happens really fast.
County and regional leaders have been questioned the last 2 days in 2 contentious press briefings on who did what to warn neighbors of the raging floodwaters and what can be done the next time. But Pearl isn't sure anything can be.
Millions of people that are all asleep. Who's going to be listening to their phones at that time of the night?
Would sirens help?
Well, I'm sure it would.
Gail Luberman can see the searchers from her front yard, reminding her of how she learned of the floodwaters.
Neighbor pounding on the door.
What'd they say?
Get up, get out. I said, okay, fine.
Do you feel like you had enough warning?
Oh, there was no warning. No warning. And I can't imagine anybody being able to predict something like this.
And she refuses to believe that anyone had the information about the flooding and didn't pass it on in a timely manner. Meanwhile, Kim Wheeler is soaking items in bleach while the rain falls again. And family helps to gut their rental home. She worries about alert fatigue.
I don't know what could have been done differently. You know, at warning systems, sirens, you know, we get the flash flood warnings on our phone, but, you know, sometimes it's like we get them too much. And so it's like, do you listen? Do you not listen?
And right now, our parent company, Tegna, is collecting donations for those impacted by the Texas floods. So if you take out your phone and scan that QR code on your screen, that will take you to the information that you need. There's also a phone bank later today that we will be covering tonight at 5 and 6 here on WCNC Plus, and that will give you more information as well on how you can donate. But WCNC Charlotte, happy and more than, you know, what we can do. It's the least what we can do, excuse me, to help in this Texas flood relief. So donate now. We'll give you a moment there to get your phone out and scan the QR code.
We know times are tough too.
Absolutely.
Like
For
every
sure.
dollar counts for people who have nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. And we saw with Helene people coming out to support Western North
Oh, in
Carolina
droves.
and the efforts
Yeah.
there. It is our turn to step up. So let's do it, folks. Texas flood relief. Let's help support our friends and people we know. We know a lot of Texans out there in Central Texas, or people who know people. This affects everybody.
Sorry, just to jump in here. We were kind of talking about the increase of the river levels, and I did some research actually last time I left the Impact Studio last time, and it was at 2:55 that actually the closest site, because there's a bunch of different river monitors along multiple rivers across the United States, but the Guadalupe River at Hunt on July 4th at 2:55 was 9.4 feet. It went up to 37.5 feet at 5:10, and like how fast this rose is just absolutely astronomical. So let's talk about it. You actually had your first flash flood warning around 1 a.m. in this area because active rain was happening. So the river was rising, but the problem is this is an exponential rise. If you remember anything from whatever class you took that talked about exponential increase in graphs and everything, it doesn't get as steep as this, because literally you're talking about in a 30-minute time frame a 5-foot rise. And I was physically looking at the topography around here where we had Camp Mystic. There's literally cabins just a walking distance away from the river. And what really makes this interesting is this is the Guadalupe River. And we keep on saying Guadalupe, but this is actually the South Fork of the Guadalupe River that is kind of cuts through right next to the camp. And what that means is you have a branch that comes off this main roaring river. So whenever you have the big time rains that are rushing down that, it flows through these smaller branches and tributaries at a rapid rate. And that's exactly what came here, where at 4:25 it was up to 26 feet. And here, just forgive me, Jane,
Sure.
I actually want to bring up the verbiage here, because each river monitor across the United States is going to have some sort of reading that is associated with it that will actually talk about like what happens at a certain level, and it's actually astronomical what happens right around 26 feet, and it actually mentions the camp. So here, just for 1 second, there's Guadalupe at Kerrville. Is this one? There's at Hunt. Okay, here it is. All right, so for the full gauge, first off, the one near Kerrville was not a record, but the previous record that was set for this site was set back in 1932. It was 36 feet, so 37 beat that, so this is significant. But at 25 feet, so major flooding on this. So let me see, that would be probably in between 355 and 425. At this site, and it's about 20 miles south of this, along the South Fork River, that the camps and a lot of the most devastation was. Major flooding severely floods resort camps along the South Fork, below the river in Resort and Hunt. Parts of Highway 39 are flooded, very dangerous, as well as numerous secondary roads. Once you get up to 32 feet, so that's in between or sometime during the 4 o'clock hour, and that's where we're hearing a lot of reports, disastrous, life-threatening flooding, putting water over the roads of the lowest camps and resorts from the headwaters in the north of the South Fork rivers below Comfort. Much of Highway 27 and 39 will flood as a disastrous flood wave moves downstream over the next several hours. So that's also another thing that was happening. Once it reached 32 feet, and it still had 5 more to rise, that this was only increasing downstream. And as more trees and debris was taking up, it was just getting bigger and bigger, and a bigger flow of water. And again, as we mentioned, a lot of those camps where we had the most devastation were some of the tributaries in the South Fork River that flood even quicker. The actually hidden night campground event that we had back in 2020 was the South Yadkin River, so it's not even the main river. We flood the South Fork River here in Gaston County. That one floods more than anything around the area. It's the forks that are the worst. So it's not just the Guadalupe River, it's the surrounding areas. So since we were talking about that, I just wanted to kind of show some of my findings and read that how amazing this is. And actually that back in 1987, a similar event actually happened, far less, and it's actually known as where I think it was 20 plus people on a bus that a bridge got taken out in the same area. This area is literally known to meteorologists as Flash Flood Alley. Wow. So I think it's at this point that things need to be done. There's history of multiple flash flood warnings. It's just never reached this magnitude before, because if you could line every factor for the worst flooding event you can have outside of a tropical system, it's this one. That's also the problem. When it has a name, it has more attention. More people are on standby. The Coast Guard, they're ready to go. This one was just an everyday thunderstorm at night, the right conditions, the right time. There were flood watches in place, but still nobody imagines anything like this.
Flood watch was in place the night before.
It was, and also the flood watch was in the night before for the Hidden Night campground as well. So there are signs with this. There at 1 o'clock, as I showed you with this graphic, there was a flash flood warning for the area. It got upgraded considerable, and then it was emergency during the 4 o'clock. But at that point, when they issue a flash flood emergency, these go in tiers. You're already at over 20 feet, and that's compared to the 8 to 9 that it was at before. So that brings us already up to around major flood stage. But then once you get up to the historical level of this day, that was just taking everything out. So yeah, there were warnings, but there's just certain points that the National Weather Service could have known this was coming. There's going to be people like the grandma in Dante's Peak that doesn't want to go, that says my river's not going to harm me, this mountain's not going to harm me. So it's always really a tough beast, because there's a lot of social science that comes with this. As a meteorologist, this is the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen, because you literally see everything that lined up and some factors that led up to this. But there's only so much you can do.
Believe are the factors that made the perfect storm to create an event like this?
You had Barry that moved inland the week prior and then left an impulse of moisture. There's something called P watts that are precipitable water. So the higher those are, these values were in the 75 percentile. So you're talking about up that to the 99th percentile. So for one, you had pretty much a column of atmosphere that was ready to go. You had a developing system that was circulating around upper level low, and then you had another system that collided with this, and then it started circling on itself. So you had everything primed, you had recent rains that were starting to swell things, so you have all those factors. And then I was showing you the radar yesterday. Literally this thing sat in one place, so it rained in the right place to flood the rivers, overwhelm things, and I think it was the right spot of the river that was going to mess with the forks and the tributaries as well. So it's really a week prior that the leftovers from Barry that isn't even a mention in the back of our mind, because it barely did anything. It didn't have the impacts that Sean Tall did, but that just elevated everything. That's why we have a 75 percentile here for moisture, but we don't have the right setup that they had there. So everything was just absolutely perfectly aligned. And as far as the warning stuff like that, I don't know how the National Weather Service is handling it. I do know that there were watches and warnings beforehand, but I don't know a guarantee that people were getting those on their phones. I don't know the status of that. Back in the day and early in my career, I had a weather radio that I was alerted about these things. But for a flash flood emergency, realistically, you could have gotten the considerable warning and flash flood emergency. Some people might have had no choice in anywhere to go because they were already surrounded. So yeah, it's like, again, I've mentioned this before. We know how many people passed over Helene collectively. Like, I think it was in the 80s here. I can't remember the exact stat. We're talking about over 160 still missing from this. Like, this is astronomical. This is if you look at, I'll even here in a sec. Let's pull up the deadliest disasters that we've had here for the tropics and see how this stacks up. And I guarantee it's probably not going to be anything close to this one. I know I'm repeating myself, but even as a meteorologist, it's like, I can't believe this happened.
No, because there's so many things that we are now learning and we're questioning. And I mean, first you deal with just the heartache and devastation of folks losing their families, so many children, and then you think, what was it with this area, the storm, the river? What does it look like? How does geography factor in? All of that now. I just wanted to know about the human nature part of it now.
Yeah, well, and actually, I think that's the best thing. And I'm sorry for my inaccuracy. I think it was in the 80s for maybe just one state. It was 235 for Helene total. But what are we already up to? 100 and what was the last report?
For 120
dead. So you're talking
160 plus still missing.
160 still plus missing.
Yeah.
So you're talking about still numbers that could rival Helene across multiple states, and you're talking about an isolated area. That's the crazy thing. But no, the social side of things is, I get it all the time. And I'm not saying specifically Texas. I don't know what people live along there. These were innocent girls, so that they're eliminated from what I'm about to say. Is that there are a lot of people that think that us meteorologists are out there controlling the weather for our own gain. I literally just
people really
I've had people message me before saying that I'm working for the government, and then Helene was supposed to go one way, but we introduced cloud seeding in order to make this happen. There is a section of population, I don't know how big it is, and I'm not saying this area specifically, but there are a lot of doubters that don't believe it. Like, some people just don't believe it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. So that's why it's really tough for some of these warnings, because people aren't going to take it seriously. How many people do you see filming tornadoes when a tornado is outside because you want to get that video?
Right.
There are so many social factors that are coming with weather for self-doubters, for the ones that want to go viral, that almost make it more dangerous in a way. This is just the perfect time of night. People are sleeping. Also, if you look at the map, as we mentioned, there's a bunch of squiggles that along the river and the tributaries. And then once you have those constant bends, well, when you have water that goes into a corner, it's going to overfill it. So it really turns into a lake, and then eventually, once that turns into a lake and things are moving, it turns into a rapidly moving area, and then it almost makes the river 2 to 3 times the width, and that's exactly what happened here. And you can see it in a lot of the damage, but yeah, it just took everything out. This is why flooding is the worst disasters that we have. Now, heat, I know, kills more people overall across the world, but nothing compares to this. You see tornado damage, yes, but that's more isolated. This is just catastrophic.
Sweeping, yes.
It swept everything out. It swept people out. There are people who are gone. One girl that was found was 12 miles away from her campsite.
Oh my goodness.
Think about that, 12 miles. I don't know, hearing her story, the 12 miles.
Amazing.
Like, for example, I live in Northwest Charlotte. 12 miles away would be going to Junta Park up in Cornelius. So think about that. Think about going that distance away. It's still unfathomable. It's like going to the state line if you live off of LaSalle and Atondo. Like, it's just absolutely staggering. I'm still bewildered as a meteorologist that this happened to a community like this.
Yeah.
This looks like a hurricane rolled through, but it was just such an isolated event.
Terrible. Camp Mystic too, been there for 100 years or so.
Yeah.
And was able to escape so much of earlier problems, issues, flooding, minor flooding.
1987 is the one where that bus incident was, but it was during the day, and they kind of knew that it was coming.
A little bit more of a warning.
If this was during the day, because here's the deal, people are awake, they would have saw the river. Oh, this isn't good. Like, and we're talking about another factor that led up to the worst tragedy that we've seen here, and one of the worst as far as flooding events go, at night. Like, that's the final kind of stake. It's just wow, just wow. And but seeing a lot of the footage and hearing people and seeing the pictures of those who have passed and those that are missing,
it's
like,
beyond surreal. And but
yeah, I know it's a tough term. I know we got super real there, but that's sometimes not what it is.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. That's what we're dealing with.
All right. Well, meanwhile, over in Monroe, it's cloudy. That's the best I can do here.
It's all right.
So let's move on.
We
to
are
our
weather alert
report.
here.
We are weather alert here, but for not the reason that comes with this. We will have a chance for, of course, some flash flooding, and I hope to God that it's not going to be anything extreme. Now, we did have some considerable flash flood warnings. We were talking about that earlier yesterday, but that was primarily in the central part of North Carolina. But today, it's really 2 to 9 that we're most weather alert across our area for the near term, and it's flooding, gusty winds, and lightning. I think these storms move a little bit faster than yesterday, and I showed you the map earlier. It's crazy how many severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings were around the area, but then meanwhile, Charlotte avoided pretty much all of it except for 0.05 of an inch of rain after midnight. We have some scattered showers and thunderstorms up in the mountains that first start really as early as 11, and then by about 2 o'clock, I think that you see kind of a scenario like this. This is the way it looked yesterday as well. Then they start to expand. It's usually about the mid to late afternoon, let's call it 4 to 7, that we're going to see those isolated showers turn scatters to even numerous. But I see the biggest potential with this is if it could form a line 9. Oftentimes, think about it, with people, we're greater in numbers. Same with storms. If they gather together and they turn into a cluster of storms, they actually can have more energy. Sometimes they can sit in place. And I think eventually you could have a few severe thunderstorm warnings that actually extend out from the front edge as they start to bow, and that primarily I think would be about 6 to 9 from south of I-85, where I think south of I-85 sees some of the strongest storms today, but doesn't mean you're not going to see it elsewhere. And then some of us are going to miss it again because there are some holes in the coverage, so it's not a guarantee. Often you might feel the outflow winds or might see off in the distance or hear the storm but not be impacted. So again, not everyone, not that widespread. As far as how much rain goes, this model even shown, hey, Charlotte's only going to see a trace again, but shows up to 2 to 3 inches elsewhere. So it's very all over the place, just like yesterday. Less than 1/10 of an inch, with some areas seeing that 2 to 3 inch extreme. As I mentioned, we do have our eastern zones that have had the worst of the weather recently. That's where we had those flood watches. And our rainfall outlook still has a moderate risk across much of the Charlotte area over off towards the east. And I truly think Anson, Stanley, and Richmond County, who are under that watch, need to be on guard because you didn't have as much rain yesterday, but you're still a little bit more saturated from the rain that we saw from Chantal. That's those areas around Greensboro that if the right rain lines up with some of the minor flooding rivers that we have from Greensboro down to Fayetteville, you could have some more at least moderate flooding that's associated with this. But the good news is it should be a little bit further from that area. As for our severe threats, gusty winds, hail, and tornadoes are not especially likely at this point. And then last but not least, for our 7-day forecast, we did drop off the weather alert for tomorrow. You still have scattered thunderstorms. We have that most days this week. Usually you have the 20% where it's more isolated. We're more scattered tomorrow afternoon, but it's not as severe, so we did remove the weather alert. Plus, we've had a lot of them this week. Got to give ourselves a break, right?
Yes.
There is a slight chance for a severe thunderstorm. We can't go weather alert every single day here during the summer because realistically you could have a severe thunderstorm at any point. And then after that, 95 is the warmest day on Monday. Could be as much as 102, and then back to about 90 to 91. So just stay weather alert this afternoon, and just aware that those thunderstorms pop up pretty much after 2 most days over the next 7.
Chris, we appreciate you. Thank you for the for being real.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, and you try not to bring your work home with you, but as we know, the weather is about your life, and there's been a few events that have happened, and Helene was one of them, that it hits everyone hard.
Sure.
But knowing the meteorology from that, this one's a gut punch, and it's going to continue to be, because there's always going to be the what could have been done.
That is the question today.
You're a meteorologist, but you're human.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're seeing some of these reporters too, and officials, some of these grizzly bearded guys that you wouldn't expect to have tears in their eyes for what they're going through. So, no, thanks a lot. I'm always down to be real. I'm always down to be fun, and always here to give you your weather reports. So always love being here.
I mean, and that's our human connection.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate you, Chris.
Of course.
All right, it is 10:21. You're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. We thank you for spreading the word on the WCNC Plus app. That's where we get to have these conversations and discussions in a way that a regular newscast can't, right? And we're not a talk show by any means, but it is bringing you the news that brings you on the local, state, national, and international level. So as we continue to cover that, and Chris mentioned that we are weather alert around the Charlotte metro area for the next number of days, chance of thunderstorms. So that brings into mind the lightning and how to stay safe from that. So our chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, talked about that with some interviews on National Lightning Safety Council. This is previously recorded on WCNC.
Today we do have a guest that we want to bring on, Tim, and we talked a lot about this over the last couple of weeks, and I think there's some parallels with flash flooding because, lightning safety is something in the summer I think people just take for granted, and I want to bring in John Gencius. He's a meteorologist that works for the National Lightning Safety Council and a former National Weather Service meteorologist as well. I met John out at the American Meteorological Society conference. He gave a great presentation out there, and I want to welcome John to the show. Thank you for joining us, John.
Well, thank you, Brad. Good evening, Tim.
So, John, you do some interesting stuff. Your presentation focused a lot about, lightning strikes, the fatalities we occur. Talk a little bit about some of the trends that you have noticed over time with lightning strikes, in particular the fatalities that we see across the country.
Well, the good news is that the number of fatalities has been decreasing over time. If we go back to the 1940s, we were seeing 300 to 400 people killed by lightning every year. In 2001, when we started our lightning safety awareness campaign, we were seeing on the order of about 55. And fortunately, that number has dropped to 20. So that's the good news. The bad news is we're still seeing a lot of people unnecessarily killed by lightning.
And so, John, where is the number one activity that you see that people are being hit by? It's obviously outside, but what activity sticks out to you as the one where we're probably not penetrating the safety measures enough for?
Well, there are a lot of activities that are associated with water that lead to lightning deaths. And in particular, the number one activity is fishing. Since 2006, we've seen 44 people that were out fishing that were killed by lightning. And we have to look at the various activities and try and figure out why it might be something like fishing. In the cases of fishing, people may be far away from safety. They may not be paying attention to the sky. They may be looking at the water. That combination of not paying attention to the weather, along with the fact that you're some distance from safety, is one of the criteria that probably leads to a lot of lightning deaths. So fishing is number one, but if we look at other activities like beach activities where people maybe again a little distance from safety, they may be facing, in the Carolinas, they're facing east and the storms may be coming from the west. The sound of the surf may be hiding the sound of thunder. So in that case, the thunderstorms may get close to them before they realize it. We have a very simple rule: when thunder roars, go indoors. You can hear thunder about 10 miles from a thunderstorm, and that's the distance that you can hear thunder. So even if you're hearing a distant rumble, you're already in danger of being struck by lightning.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like there's a ton of myths around lightning and lightning safety in general. Unfortunately, we had an incident that thankfully was not fatal. Actually, while I was at the conference with you, where we had 18 individuals struck by lightning on Lake Murray in South Carolina. What do you think are some of the biggest myths out there about lightning, and in particular lightning safety? I know we hear a lot about not taking a shower or being in the bathtub during a lightning storm. What are some of the ones that stick out to you that maybe are true or aren't true?
Well, probably the biggest myth is that metal attracts lightning. Lightning comes down blindly from the sky. It is not attracted to anything, but metal will conduct lightning. So the important thing is not whether you're holding metal or not, but it's whether you're outside. And that is the most important thing, is that you have to get inside. Yes, while you were at the conference, we had a number of incidents where people were taking shelter under unsafe canopies, or in one case, it was a tiki hut. They just simply should have gotten to a substantial building or a hard-topped metal vehicle. In the case you mentioned up at the lake, I don't think people were watching as closely to perhaps radar or if they have a lightning app. Those are things that we recommend if you're going to be outside. And don't be fooled by a storm that's far away. Oftentimes people will see a storm in one direction or the other where you're getting billowing clouds. That's a sign that a thunderstorm is developing. And as I mentioned, that storm can produce lightning that strikes outward 10 miles.
In your time of studying some of these strikes, and especially the fatalities, what sticks out like is the oddest situation where somebody has been hit by lightning in a non-traditional way?
That's actually a very good question, because there are a lot of things that it can happen, but a lot of times it's just something that they're doing just for a few minutes. They just take a simple chance. They might be hanging laundry on the line. But when we look at look at the things. It doesn't have to be you're standing out in the middle of a thunderstorm. It's just taking a chance, just going from your house to your car. So all of those things contribute to the lightning fatalities. People going out for a walk, walking their dogs, just a lot of little things that contribute to all those fatalities. And since 2006, I've documented almost 500 fatalities now. Each one of those is a very sad case. When we talk about 500 fatalities, we're talking about probably 5,000 family members that were affected, families that were broken apart by that lightning strike. And that's only the ones that were killed. There are also all the people that have been struck and injured that are suffering lifelong debilitating injuries. So with all those people, we figure there are about 50,000 people since 2006 that have been impacted by lightning strikes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because maybe one of the myths is that think that everybody that gets hit by lightning is going to be fatal. But as you mentioned, a lot of people get hit, they survive, but they have lifelong injuries. And in some cases, I have a friend who was hit. He's a firefighter working a forest fire in the mountains. One of those bolts from the blue, the lightning came from a storm that was on the other side of the mountain, which they could not see at the time. And he still suffers neurological impacts. Talk a little about that. What are some of the injuries that people typically receive from a lightning strike that do survive, but they still live with?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Brad, because a lot of people, we figure about only 1 in 10 people that are struck actually die from the lightning strike. So 9 out of 10 people survive. And the neurological problems, some of those are related to the lightning itself. And oftentimes when somebody is struck, their heart stops. So that limits the amount of oxygen to the brain. So the injury is due to oxygen deprivation to the brain, which can lead to all kinds of neurological and other problems related to the brain. So they could be suffering pain throughout their lifetime. They could have trouble memory problems. There's just a host of things, but some of those persist for their entire life. And in some cases, they're incapacitated, which leaves them totally without income as well.
Yeah. I think Tim has finally joined us on the line. Tim, did you have a question you wanted to ask John?
Hey, John. Yeah, Tim Buckley here in Greensboro. I have a question about what should people do when they're out and about? We always tell them when thunder roars to go indoors, but to me, what gives me the most concern as a meteorologist is sometimes when it's that first bolt of lightning from a storm. Are there any ways that people can protect themselves from that if it's the first bolt? Or what would your tips for people be when they're outside with activities and that might happen?
Well, if they're outside and they're involved in an activity, we do recommend watching the radar because the radar will clue you in on a developing thunderstorm. Mm-hmm. Also, keep an eye on the sky, watch for billowing clouds, and in some cases, especially if you're in an area where you can hear well, you may be hearing some crackling aloft, some in-cloud lightning prior to the time that you get the cloud to ground strike. But if you are outside and some lightning catches you by surprise, we want you to run as fast as you can to get to a safe place. And a safe place is a substantial building or a hard-topped metal vehicle.
Yeah, it's really good advice. I don't know if you guys touched on this just a second ago, but there was such a bad lightning strike in South Carolina just a matter of a week or two ago with all of those people swimming in Lake Murray. Did you see that situation? And any tips on people who might be at the beaches or the swimming, or the same thing you just said, just to run as fast as you can if you're out when that happens?
Well, certainly at the beach, we want people to be aware of their surroundings. And as with any outdoor activity, monitor radar and weather lightning apps if they're available. But keep an eye on the sky, not just in front of you. People at the beach tend to be looking out at the water to the east. They're not looking to the west. And they may be able to see some darkening skies or some billowing clouds headed their way. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on the sky all around you. And then as soon as you start to see any indication of either a developing or approaching storm, to head to safety right away.
Hey, John, I have a question for you. Obviously lightning safety has become a forefront. I think like we're doing a pretty good job. I do a lot of support for outdoor venues. A lot of them do a great job. What do you have to say about like research going forward? What do you think is the frontier for either lightning detection or lightning research in the coming years that might even give us a better understanding of predictive measures of, like Tim mentioned, like pre-lightning forecasting? I look at a lot of some of the GOES data, but what do you think is out there that's going to allow us to maybe predict lightning before even the first strike happens?
Well, I do think what you've mentioned is some of the data that's coming in now from the satellites, some of the detail that we're seeing in the various fields that are available from the satellites, some of the computer modeling where you're able to start, predict when a thunderstorm may start producing lightning. But really, when it comes down to it, we're never going to be able to predict exactly where and when that first lightning strike is going to occur. And it really is a person's behavior that's going to determine how safe they're going to be. So going forward, I think we will be getting better at being able to predict lightning and when it's going to start, but exactly where it's going to strike and when it's going to strike that area is going to be very, very hard to predict in the future.
Yeah. One more question for you, and I'll let Tim finish up with the last one here, but what about some of these devices you see out there, lightning deterrents, lightning rods? There's a lot of companies. Some of them look, as a meteorologist, sometimes I cringe at them. Are there a lot of false, preventative measures out there that people sometimes over-rely on?
Well, we recommend using a national detection network for detecting lightning. In some cases, you get what you pay for. So in terms of accuracy, we think the national networks are much better than some of the handheld devices that you may see. But the combination of using any sort of detection along with what you can see and what you can hear should keep people safe. And when I say see and hear, that comes with the technology as well.
Tim, I'll let you have the last question.
Well, this should be a quick answer. We're going to talk about, is heat lightning real or is it a myth?
Okay, heat lightning is a myth. It is real lightning, but it's just lightning from a distant thunderstorm. So yes, it is a myth. And I will mention, I know you asked about a couple other myths. Rubber tires don't protect you. It's the metal shell of the vehicle that protects you. So there are still a lot of myths out there. But really, I think most people recognize that that the rubber tires are not protecting you; it's the shell. And really, as I said, the biggest myth out there right now is that metal attracts lightning. Lightning strikes wherever it wants and whenever it wants. And in order to be safe, you have to make sure you're in a substantial building or hard-top metal vehicle at that time.
All right, John. Well, thank you. That's perfect. That was our last of our show. We appreciate you coming on. And heed those tips, everybody. Lightning safety is something we all need to take seriously all year long.
And Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich will join us again today at 4 on WCNC Charlotte for your evening weather, as we are staying weather alert around the Charlotte metro. It is 10:36. I want to let you know, because of the flooding damage done in Texas, we want to put this QR code up for you now, as our parent company Tegna is helping support this Texas flood relief. Donations will go to help those. I mean, you saw the devastation, and we know the heartache and heartbreak for families who have lost so many family and friends, up to 120. And we're still waiting for officials to give the latest on their recovery efforts now from last Friday's flooding and all the disaster there. All right, now you saw there a little bit of a glimpse there of a woman. She is in the Charlotte area, and this is really an inspiring story of generosity that happened in the Queen City, because a local jewelry store owner, she just wanted to put out these necklaces and sell them for $25. Her name's Erin McDermott, and she got creative and said that all of the proceeds will go towards the flood victims. Well, you know what? She raised
100,000.
I had to reread that.
Yeah, I know. We had Miles on yesterday, and he said the number, and all of us were like, For real? Yeah. So, yeah.
$25 necklaces, $100,000. Wow. So, speaking of Miles, he did get a chance to speak to Erin about the impact her team made in such a short time. Let's play this interview for you now, recorded in its entirety here on WCNC Plus.
Talk to me about what made you even want to go into doing this.
It was amazing. I mean, the way our community came together, we obviously, we heard about the floods and just knew we needed to do something right away. We thought, you know what, let's just start small. And if we could raise $500, that would be incredible. So we pulled together a collection of jewelry, and we decided to donate 100% of the proceeds from that collection to those impacted by the floods in Texas. And really had no expectation of how much to raise. We just knew with everything going on, and I was just, looking on my phone and reading all these news articles and falling apart just like everyone else, something small that we could do, and it totally took on a life of its own. And that was all from our community, and it was all from just word of mouth and sharing on Instagram, sharing on Facebook, texting friends, and then friends of friends texting friends, and it was just really amazing to see this forward momentum happen. And we started looking at how much we were raising, and it was going from $5,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000, and I think our entire team was just shocked. But it was just something that reminded me that there is something so much bigger than jewelry and so much bigger than this business. And if you start small, it really can grow to something that you never even could have believed. And that's really how the whole thing started.
Yeah.
I think it's also knowing what to do. I think that we were so paralyzed with the stories. I have 2 children at camp right now, and I think that it really was, you almost think, I want to do something, but I don't even know where to start. That's the hardest thing. Where do you start? And being able to use the jewelry as a vehicle to raise money really was, I feel so grateful to have that opportunity. And each piece was $25, and we tried to make it an approachable price point. Our jewelry is at an approachable price point, and really for all ages. So our hope was that everyone could find something online that they could gift to their daughter, themselves, a friend, their wife, a coworker, a neighbor, and know that when they wear this piece, they're doing good and they're helping, and they were part of raising $100,000, because without them, this would have never happened.
So, and let me ask you this though too, because I mean, this is, again, I still hear this number.
Unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
Same.
It's in a great way. Are these orders coming? Where are these orders coming from? What's the farthest order?
Oh, all over the world. We ship internationally, and that's what's been really cool. As we've grown, this is my 20th year in business, and as we've grown, we've really been able to put the infrastructure in place in our business to be able to ship internationally, to be able to scale and be able to work with thousands and thousands of orders. I mean, every week we ship out lots of orders from all over the world, but when something like this happens, the news has hit everyone, and so for us to be able to not only offer local pickups, but shipping internationally has been just something really cool that we probably couldn't have done 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But now, with the systems we have in place, with the team we have, with the support, with the help, with the organization, with everything, which the organization part does not come from me, we're able to do that and execute it. And that is something that, like, I guess I forget has happened over the past 20 years, but it has been something that you kind of get to the point where you're like, this is really what, I guess I'm trying, like, maybe this is, like, all of the steps in between have allowed us to do something like this and work on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and every dollar that you guys have raised
Yes.
has only been just specifically through
jewelry, through donating
no
for the
extra
jewelry.
donation. This is-
Every single dollar has been through our community purchasing these pieces and us donating back 100% of the proceeds. Every single dollar.
And just remind us, though, too, more specifically, those dollars are going. You mentioned Texas, but like which organization?
So right now, because we had no idea the scale of where this would reach and how much we would raise, right now, that's what I'm doing today. We have so many links, so many organizations that we're looking into today. We most likely will break it down into $10,000 increments. We will post every single place with our donation receipts on Instagram, Facebook, and our website, and we will share that tomorrow with our community.
One of my last questions that I have for you, though, too, is what do you want people to know with each piece of jewelry they purchase when it comes to this effort, too?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question, and I mean, I think that it is just like so horrible. Everything's so horrible, and I think it's just so unimaginable that if you have something, a piece of jewelry that you know you were part of helping, because at this point it's going to take such a community, and the community is already working. No one can do this alone. We couldn't do this alone, and I think knowing that you were part of raising this money and helping a community, and truly we couldn't have done it without each individual person wearing the pieces and helping. And I think when something like this happens, you look around to your friends, to your family, to your coworkers, to your neighbors, to your churches, to everything, and you think this is bigger than all of us. This flood is bigger than all of us, and we are going to have to heal together too. Texas, everyone impacted. It's going to take the whole community to heal together, and it really is just humbling that we could start and be part of that process for everyone who's been impacted.
And again, just want to let you know that our parent company, Tegna, is collecting donations for those impacted by the Texas floods as well. So if you take out your phone, give you a second. That QR code on your screen is the key that's going to take you to all the information you need. Also want to let you know that there's a phone bank that will be hosting a little bit later today, and you can tune in at 5 and 6 on WCNC Charlotte, of course streaming here on the Plus, for more information as well as we all come together and help those folks out in Texas.
Every dollar counts. We know times are tough, wallets are tight, budgets are tight.
Sure.
Trust us, but these people have nothing.
Yeah, and like Aaron said, if you have anything in your heart, you feel their pain. It's something so unimaginable, but we can do what we can. So again, there's that QR code. We will be flashing that up here, indefinitely. And just stay with us so you can do what you can, and this is how we come together as a community. All right, so as we head deeper into the summer, you may have heard the term 100 Deadliest Days. It refers to the stretch between Memorial Day and Labor Day when so many traffic deaths spike. But there is a vision. It's Charlotte's Vision Zero initiative, hoping to change things and make this the 100 safest days of summer. So this morning on WCNC Charlotte, on the Plus, on the stream here, are Ben Thompson and Megan Bragg were able to speak to the organizer for the local organization, Sierra Richardson, and trying to push safety here. There's a previously recorded interview on WCNC Plus.
All right, Sierra, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks so much for having me this morning.
Yeah, we should say Vision Zero is the city's initiative to eliminate all traffic deaths by the year 2030, as well as serious injuries as well. And you know what? We hear about the 100 most dangerous days of summer. It's been an initiative for years now. But you're trying to change that narrative to the safest. What is the thought behind that?
Absolutely. So as we continue to implement Vision Zero here in Charlotte, we know that with the excitement of the summer months, taking vacations and just having that summer fun brings a serious risk as well. And it's also especially impacting our teens. Now, the good news is traffic crashes are preventable. So when we look at keeping one another safe and making safer choices, no matter if you're driving, walking, or biking, that's how we flip that script to make it the 100 safest days of summer for Charlotte.
So year to year, we do see these crashes, but what do the statistics look like over the summer months? Do we have that number or that data?
Absolutely. So over the past 5 summers between May and September, specifically looking at 2020 to 2024, we know that teens have been involved as a part of 38 fatal crashes. Now that's 23% overall during those summer months. And what this means is that they may have been a driver, they may have been a passenger or a victim in these crashes. And unfortunately, an average of 7 to 8 teens are involved in fatal crashes each month over the summer.
So what is a general, you have, 17 people moving here to Charlotte every single day or something like that?
Yeah.
So you're getting all these people, all their cars, all the traffic. So how can you combat that and also make roads safer at the same time?
Absolutely. And people coming here for different events, concerts, games, that kind of thing. So we are taking specific actions that will align to make our streets safer for all modes across the city. And a couple of examples are lighting thoroughfares to provide better visibility at night. Also designing, building, and installing more pedestrian crossings. And then also evaluating speeds. So we're looking at areas to lower speed limits.
So how can residents get involved and how can they help?
So there's definitely a number of ways, but specifically over the summer, our biggest ask is to slow down. Speed impacts severity. So the faster that you're going, the higher the chances that you'll be involved in a fatal or serious injury crash. So we want to be mindful and adhere to those speed limit signs. We know folks don't want to be late to the meeting or don't want to be late picking up the kids, but we'd rather you arrive late and alive than not to arrive at all.
Yeah, words to live by. Let's go past summer for a second. What are some of the other projects that Vision Zero has in mind for the second half of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are continuing to implement different types of infrastructure to support all modes of travel. And what I can tell you is that from July 2024 to June 2025, we've made some great progress and we want to keep it going. So we've implemented 20 new traffic signals, 5 new pedestrian hybrid beacons, 10 new rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and 22 leading pedestrian intervals, which supports our accessible pedestrian signals. So we want to keep that work going.
Yeah, definitely. You were talking about the pedestrian walkways. How many have been installed, were you saying?
Yes, so there are a couple of types, right? So when we think about traffic signals, those help at the specific intersections, but as far as midway crossings, 5 new pedestrian hybrid beacons and 10 new rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Well, it is an ambitious goal, zero traffic-related deaths by 2030, but with the city growing as fast as we are and the number of cars and you gotta think about these things and you gotta address these because our growth is for naught if we live in an unsafe city.
Exactly.
You know, and people can't walk around. All right, Sierra, thank you so much for taking time. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, at 10:52 right now, we thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News. Earlier this morning in South Charlotte, there was a pretty serious apartment fire, did a lot of damage, 2-alarm fire. Our Richard Devane was called to this breaking news scene, and half a dozen people also reported injured. He talked to our Ben Thompson and Megan about this earlier on live TV, or the stream, I should say, WCNC Plus. Let's get to this previously recorded exchange on
Start with that breaking
WCNC.
news out of South Charlotte. We've been talking about all morning here on WCNC Plus. At least 6 people are injured after a apartment fire there. This is happening over near South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. Richard Devane there live on scene. Richard, you are actually in the middle of speaking to some of those neighbors.
Neck up.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, can you imagine as a father, if your daughter calls you in the middle of the night or early morning, I should say, and well, I'll let, tell us your name, Vanessa.
My name is Vanessa Gilmore.
And you got a call this morning. What happened?
Yes, I don't know, my daughter, she had called my cell phone and I didn't get it answered in time, and so she called on the house phone, and my mom came to me. She said, Courtney wants you to pick up the phone, and you know, all I heard is, Mama, my apartment's on fire, my apartment's getting ready to burn down. And she hung up the phone, and I tried to call her back, and she didn't answer the phone, and so I got dressed real quick, and you know,
you got out here all the way from Gastonia.
Yeah, coming from Gastonia, but it seemed like time stopped. I wasn't going to get here fast enough because I didn't know what was going on.
Now there is good news for her. You telling me about her apartment is on the end of this unit.
Yeah,
and it's protected.
Yes, it's beside the firewall, and so by being next to the firewall stopped the fire. But they said the most she would have is a little bit of water and smoke damage.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad she's okay, and I know some nervous moments for both of you guys, but she's going to be okay. But we want to point out, this is the damage you see right here. This is what's left of that unit that caught on fire. Some neighbors told us they heard what sounded like a loud explosion, a bang. If we have that video, you can show that video that actually shows how intense these flames were. When the fire department got here, they said it took them about 4 minutes to get here after getting the call, and multiple units. We had this was a 2-alarm fire. They say multiple units came out here and were able to work to get this fire under control. But as you can well imagine, there was a significant amount of damage. You can just see how much damage there is. We did speak to a number of neighbors who said they were awakened by either hearing the loud bang and then walking outside and then seeing what was going on. One neighbor says she was awakened by firefighters knocking on her door and telling her to get out. That video we showed you of the flames was actually somebody else who lives in that same section where the mother of the young lady told us. That same section of this particular unit or this particular part of the complex said that she actually was very calm. She said the firefighters were urgently telling her to leave, but they were calm, and so she was able to calmly get out. And that's what a couple other neighbors told us, how good a job the fire department did. You asked us in the last little bit, Ben, about the people who were involved. 6 people injured, transported. I can tell you that they were all in the same unit, according to the fire department. Investigators tell me they were all in the same unit, and police are also saying that there were at least 11 people who were actually inside that apartment unit at the time that this fire broke out. Right now, this fire is very much under investigation. We can tell you the arson investigators are here also looking at it to try to determine exactly what happened, how it happened, and we also know that the Red Cross is here as always. It's a good sign when they're here to help those people who've been displaced by this. A couple neighbors tell us they're still waiting to see if they can go inside their apartment and see what's damaged, what's salvageable. And you know, this is the type of thing that happens a lot when we have these fires. People lose everything, but the most important thing that they can say they keep is their lives. They're safe. And right now we're still working to find out the extent of those injuries. We'll get the extent of those injuries. Also, we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what may have started this fire when investigators give us more information. I spoke to one a little bit ago who said it's just too early to release any of that to us right now. But of course, as we get it, we do know, like Ruben is showing you, the Red Cross is on the scene. They're here as usual to help out those families who've been displaced. That we've already seen them talking to some folks, offering their assistance. So we'll continue to be here and find out what we can and present it to you throughout all of our social platforms. We are reporting live right here off of Archdale. How are you doing? This is Richard Devane. Guys, send it back to you.
And Richard, when we usually report on this, we hear a lot about smoke detector issues and that sort of thing. But I'm wondering, did anyone else's smoke detector go off when this was going on? Have neighbors told you anything about smoke detectors?
every single neighbor I spoke to did not mention their smoke detectors. That's something people mentioned right away. Excuse me, did your smoke detector go off? Did your smoke detector go off? We're going to find out from her. She said no. And the other neighbors I spoke to said they were asleep. They were not waken up by smoke detectors. They were actually awakened by the fire crews.
All right, you're watching that previously recorded live shot from our Richard Devane handling the latest on breaking news scene from earlier, an apartment fire in South Charlotte. We are waiting from Texas the latest on officials on their search for flooding victims, the recovery efforts there. That is the room for the media where a podium is set up for. They've been doing this daily briefing every day. In the meantime, this is what you can do right now is hit up that QR code and make a donation. Our parent company, Tegna, helping those victims with the Texas flood relief. We'll also have more on WCNC Charlotte with a phone bank. We'll talk more about that at 5 and 6. In the meantime, Charlotte Today is up next.